How can you use AI to supercharge your lead generation and fill your sales pipeline with amazing, high quality B2B leads? Hey everyone, it's Will, and if this is your first time to my channel, I'm going to be going into how we help our clients fill their pipelines, get some amazing leads into their B2B businesses, and ultimately grow their sales and revenue and profit. Now, I wanted to give you a quick intro to this video because I was invited to speak at an exclusive business event that was run by my good friend Dale Beaumont recently. And in this event, you'll get to see some different angles of how I approach lead generation and how I'm using AI in my company and in those of my clients to get better results faster than ever. So let's jump straight into it, and I'm going to cut across to the stage and get straight into the video.
Hey everyone, great to be here. I hope you're ready to go and get straight into it. There's actually a whole bunch of stuff I want to share with you, so we're going to make it a pretty cool and exciting session, hopefully. And I wanted to also make it as interactive as possible, so let me know if you guys have got questions and we'll kick things off because I do want to share as much as possible. So with that being said, I mean, this is an AI event, right? So I was thinking to myself, what would be really cool to do? And one of the ideas I had was, why don't I just do a deep fake of myself giving this entire presentation? Now, I was going to do that, but I wanted to check out Dale's awesome studio here. So I was like, okay, maybe that's not the right thing. So I did the next best thing and just thought, well, I'm gonna ask ChatGPT what I should be speaking about. So typed in the prompt, hey, what are the latest and greatest B2B lead gen strategies that you think is actually gonna work? And so it spat out this whole bunch of stuff to me, like this massive list of things we can do. And honestly, it's like a little bit meh, right? Like so. Now, my goal here today is to give everyone on here actionable, measurable, fast result generating tactics and strategies that you can go and apply to your business if you're in B2B and actually get some kind of results from and know that it's going to work for you. So that's the goal that I've got. Hopefully that's okay with all of you. And to do that, what I'm going to look at doing is kind of put the bumper rails on, right? Put the bumpers on and say, well, okay, we can talk about tactics and strategies, but how do I help you all get qualified leads, right? Leads are, obviously qualified leads are more important than just any kind of bad leads. So I want to get you qualified leads and I want them to come in fast for you. Does that sound okay to everyone here? Let me know if that sounds okay. Yes, perfect. Awesome. Great to see here, Zach, as well. So let's get straight into it. And what I'm going to do is share 3 tactics and 1 key strategy that's going to make all the tactics work, right? So before we get into all of that and break down exactly how it works, just a little bit of 2-second bio on why I'm standing on stage talking to you about all this kind of stuff. I run a B2B marketing and lead gen agency called Growth Labs. And over the past 12 months, and probably every 12 months, actually, I should say, we send about 1.23 million cold emails out to market for ourselves and for our clients. So bunch of data that we've got on here as well. We've also, most of our cold emails get really cool open rates, like 70% open rates, from 15 to 20 to 30 to 42% reply rates on our cold emails. And we also manage anywhere between $80,000 to $500,000 a month on B2B ads across Facebook and LinkedIn. So we get some pretty cool data that comes back in terms of what we're doing and how. Now, we also work with some pretty amazing companies. So for example, one of the ones on here, Airwallex, raised about $900 million, currently doing about $230 million a year in revenue. And a lot of the systems and processes that their 80 or 100 strong sales team, I think now, actually we built for them. So we started working with them when they had 2 salespeople. Now they've got 100. So I'm going to be sharing some of the tactics that's working for them, but in a way that's scalable for you, depending on where your business is at. So let's jump into this because there's so much I want to share with you. By the way, if you want to go deeper and have any questions, I'll come back to you as well. There's a lot to go through, so I'm just going to speed through all of it, and then we can come back and talk through specifics if we need to. So first and foremost, I'm going to be sharing the strategic side of things first, right? The strategy. Because if you don't get the strategic stuff right, well, the rest of it doesn't really matter, actually. So what do I mean by that? Well, it's kind of like the idea of, I can give you a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, but if you don't input the correct destination into the GPS, it doesn't really matter, right? It's a nice ride, but you're not going to get to where you need to go. So what we're going to be looking at doing is breaking down how I think about strategically how I approach B2B lead gen. So I'm breaking down into a few different thought processes, and I say, well, for B2B lead gen, what is it that we're trying to accomplish? Like, what is the strategy? And we break it down into a few simple steps, right? I just want to get the right message in front of the right people, the right audience, and I want to get some kind of action confirmation to have a foot in the door and land an account. And it could be a very small sale, but then you build on it to expand and land and expand. Very much B2B kind of play here, right? Now, the strategy I'm going to speak about is actually around cold emails. And you might think, well, hang on, cold emails is kind of more of a tactic. But the way I think about it and apply it, it's actually a strategy more than a tactic. I'll explain in more detail as we go, so we'll dive straight in. Now, why cold email, right? Like, I can talk about any of the stuff that ChatGPT talked about, it all kind of works, but why specifically do I think cold email is one of the best B2B lead gen strategies and tactics? Well, first and foremost, you get instant feedback. Like, when you send emails out to market, you know if people are opening the emails, you know they're responding to it, you know what the feedback is, right? Super important. It's also super targeted. So, for example, I always ask this question, and I've had a couple of hands up from time and time again, but it always surprises me when I do. But if you think about your target demographic, if you want to be targeting CEOs or decision makers at really big companies, right? How do you think they're going to be buying? Right? Do you think they're kind of scrolling through Facebook ads, buying a whole bunch of courses all the time, or do you think that they might be a little bit busy to be on the social platforms? So one of the reasons why I really like cold emails is because if you do it well, you can actually get in front of the people that you might not be able to find, or a different demographic potentially, to something like social media ads, which found of both, but just wanted to give you some context in terms of why cold email is so good. And it's also really, really good because it scales really well. Now, with the ad spend we manage, I always see that every time we try and scale the ad spend or grow an ad account, the cost kind of blows out a little bit, right? Like, the ads get more expensive, the conversion costs go up a little bit, but it's actually the opposite with cold emails. And you can scale a really big cold email system and the cost actually goes down. So it's like bulk buying, essentially. So that's kind of why I like it, but let's go into how to make it work for you. So I'm going to share the tactics specifically related to cold emails that you can leverage afterwards, but I wanted to take you through a bit of a crash course in here, because if you don't understand how cold email works, the tactics doesn't really matter, right? So strategy first. Now, I'm going to go through and go through as much detail as I can in a short amount of time. But if you have any other questions, I'll give you, some templates and other resources that I'd love to share with you all after as well. But in terms of cold emails, the way that we look at it, or the way that I think about the process, is it's a 6-step process, right? The first step is looking at the strategy side of things. We then go into the account identification. We then go and build lists. We then write emails at step 4. We launch a campaign to nurture leads at step 5. And then step number 6, we report, optimize, and do it a lot better every time we run a campaign. Now, today, because of, I want to get into a lot of the tactical side of things with you as well, I'm only going to be talking about the first 4 steps, but I'll give you some resources to help with the steps 5 and 6. So let's start at the beginning, right? Step 1, which is preparation. And this is probably the most important part, where a lot of people kind of skip through a little bit too quickly, but it's kind of the analogy of, if you're starting out in Sydney and you want to sail to Hawaii, if you go 1 degree off course, you're going to end up on a completely different island, right? Completely different location. So kind of the same principle in thinking as we think about cold emails. Now, this preparation side has 2 parts to it. One is strategy, and the other one, strategy and offer, and the second part is all around account identification and planning. So let's start with strategy and offer, and this is such an important piece of the puzzle, right? I want to spend a bit more time on this than the other ones, because if you get this part right, cold email becomes so easy, right? It becomes a massive lead generator. But if you get this part wrong, this is when you start getting into trouble and start damaging your brand with cold emails. So first and foremost, right, I map out the client buying process. How do we go from a cold email to a conversation, to a relationship, to a signed agreement, right? I think through and map out for our clients every step of the process as we go through this. Now, the next thing is, what is my offer at every step of the way? So I think about not just the offer in terms of what we're selling them, but the offer that's going to get me a reply, the offer that's going to get me a phone call, and the offer that's going to go through and actually start a relationship, right? What are the offers at every step of the way? And this can actually make or break your campaigns. So for example, we had a client that came on board with us a few months ago, Chris, an amazing safety scientist, right, and engineer. And he came through to us to talk about cold emails, but by rejigging his offer, even without going to market, we actually helped him to triple his business inside of like 3 months, I think it was. So this is how important it is, right? If you don't have the right offer, and you go to market, it's not going to end well. But if you do, you might not even need to go to market and you can grow really, really quickly. So we spend a lot of time going through this with our clients. Now, once you've got the offer set, we then look at, well, who are our people? Like, what are the accounts that we really care about, right? And what do they care about? So for example, we look at what industries do we have a proven track record in? We look at things like, what are the challenges within those industries? And this is kind of one of those research pieces that AI is really helpful with. And I'll show you some prompts and examples that we use in just a bit to speed up this entire process. Now, next, if we know who our people are, we then go into what I call account classification. So this is looking at your A's, B's, and C's, and kind of identifying, well, who's a great account for us and who's a dream client, who's a great bread and butter kind of steak and potatoes. I don't know why I'm using steak analogies, probably close to lunchtime, but who's like a great client that we want all day every single day, and then who's a client that we don't mind if they're self-service. So we go through and plan all this stuff out. And before AI, this process, just thinking, planning, strategizing, bouncing ideas around. This could have taken days or even weeks, right? Some of the clients we work with, we spend 2 or 3 weeks just going through this bit here. But AI makes it so much faster. And I'll give you some examples and prompts that we use to go and do this step and kind of accelerate us through all of this. Now, let's get straight into that bit. So this is kind of like the help me AI bit, right? Like help me robots. Now, when it comes to thinking about this process, right, and thinking about how can we get really, really effective cold emails, why ask questions like, what are the business owners we're trying to prospect out to? What are their struggles, right? So I'll even give the AI more context. So rather than saying, hey, what are the biggest struggles for lawyers or accountants, for example, I'll give it way more specific context to get the right information. So I might say things like, for a legal firm with 5 partners and 20 employees, or does 10 million in revenue, what are the challenges they're facing that are specific to a company of their size in the industry? And so another prompt we use is, hey, pretend that you're the CEO of this company. What are the day-to-day things that are top of mind or the biggest challenges for you? So that gives you some really, really good prompts. And one of the things that we also ask is, and why, right? Explain how you got to this conclusion so we can use it in our research and thinking. Now, one of the tools I'll mention is a Chrome extension called Reader GPT, and it essentially summarizes web pages for us and gives us a direction to go in terms of research.
Okay, so that was part 1 of the presentation that I did on stage at my friend Dale Beaumont's event. Now, part 2 is coming out in just a couple of days. So if you want to see part 2 and if you want to continue and see how we get these leads coming through, how we turn them into prospects and then ultimately close them for our clients as leads, and not as leads, as clients, like and subscribe to see part 2. In the meantime, if you want to dive into cold email a bit more and find out how we get open rates of 80% and reply rates of 40% on the cold email sequences we send for our clients, there should be a video around here or here, wherever it is, that goes into how we actually write our cold emails. And there should also be another video around here somewhere talking about how we write amazing subject lines that get your emails the open rates that you want. So I hope you enjoyed these videos. And again, like and subscribe, and see you in a couple of days where we release part 2 of this exclusive behind the scenes presentation and go deeper, I should say, into how to generate more leads for your business. All right, catch you then.